Burnout Basketball Podcast fans, what is up? Let's go. We are back with another episode. This is going to be a short one. We're just going to run through some news that's happening around the league. Some stuff a little bit older that's happened in the past week or two. Some stuff that's, being released today, like the NBA schedule. Is there some cool stuff in there? We will find out. But just wanted to say, happy to be back. Wasn't sure if we were going to record this week, but we figured, hey, let's just get a short one out there, cover some of the stuff as NBA news is somewhat on and popping as we are in the middle of August. We're in the dog days of the NBA offseason. There's still some stuff to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about it all with you. And, just let me know if you guys like it. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Please make sure to follow. Please make sure to comment. All the stuff. We'll get right to it after this quick theme song. Burnouts, we're back. We're just going to be going over some quick notes, some news on the NBA, just to get us through this summer, these dog days of the summer. We're just going through a couple of the things that have been happening, a lot of re-signings, disgruntled players, rumors, things of that nature. But we will also be getting to some Heat-specific news towards the back end of this podcast, so feel free to skip that if you're not worried about anything else going on. But just to get right to the top, De'Aaron Fox re-signed with the Spurs for a reported $229 million extension. That's a big ticket price for De'Aaron Fox. A lot of money for, definitely not a top 5 point guard, shooting guard in the league. So I think there's some question marks around the money, but when they traded for him, they had every intention of re-signing him. They didn't trade that much for him. They want to see a full season of him next to Wemby. They want to give Wemby a shot to compete in the playoffs. I had some questions around this in a Western Conference pod we did a couple episodes ago, but overall, I think it does make sense to have this guard signed to play next to Wemby, who's entering his prime, to just get Wemby those playoff reps, to see how it does, to really give it its fair shot. Especially, there were the questions were regarding Dylan Harper being the second pick in the draft, who is also plays the guard position. They weren't sure, or people weren't sure, if they would be wanting to give this much money to Fox when they just drafted a guard. But I think overall, it takes a while for guards to come online, especially young guards. So rather than maybe risk the chance of Wemby becoming disgruntled because you're wasting his time with these retooling years around young guards, they have one who is in his prime now, who is ready to compete, and they want to see it happen. And then worst case, if in a couple years from now, it becomes redundant, if Harper becomes the better point guard, shooting guard, if Castle steps up, then they can either trade De'Aaron Fox for something, it is a lot of money, but I'm sure they could figure something out. It's not an untradeable contract. Or if the other guards are good, but maybe not as good as Fox, and you love the Fox-Wemby pairing, you trade one of the other young guards. So they still have some flexibility around that. However, this roster is pretty locked in. I am excited to see a full season of Fox and Wemby together. I think it can be a lot of fun. So we'll see how it turns out. Let me know if you're feeling up or down on that. I'm feeling pretty decent about them re-signing him, even though the number is a little bit frightening. Another re-signing that happened that's maybe a little bit more exciting around the league, Luka Dončić got a $165 million extension with the Lakers. Sad for us Heat fans and maybe other fans around the league who are hoping that he would ride this out and possibly leave in free agency for a different team and pick his own team. But he took the money that was on the table. If you're the Lakers, this is a no-brainer. You offer Luka as much money as possible because he's arguably one of the best players in the league, one of the top 3 best players in the league. So you offer him this much money. He is looking incredibly fit. You're building a roster around him. You have him being able to take the ball out of LeBron James' hands in the regular season, and they can share the ball a little bit better in the playoffs. It worked decently well after the trade deadline. It's just another year of them clicking with him in better shape now. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. And then after this contract, he has the ability to sign an incredibly expensive contract if he stays with the Lakers and re-signs with them. So it's looking like Luka's going to be a Laker for a while. Sad for all of us around the league who are maybe hoping that he would end up somewhere else. Moving on, another re-signing here that we're going to be talking about is Devin Booker's extension. He agreed to a 2-year, get ready for it, $145 million extension with the Suns. Yeah, you're hearing that number right. That's $72.5 million a year. That's a lot of money. It's close to $1 million per game. It's getting really close to that. I mean, on one hand, I understand why the Suns did this extension. If you don't pay Devin Booker, what are you doing? He's your franchise star. He has been your franchise star. The fact that he's been willing to stay there and there hasn't been rumblings of him wanting to get traded to another team is frankly pretty insane. So, you pay him what he wants and he puts butts in seats. People go to Phoenix to watch Devin Booker because what else is there to watch in Phoenix? However, I feel like they're in NBA purgatory right now. They have a star and they don't have their own picks. They don't have a lot of good players for the most part. Like the West is stacked. Like if this team was in the East, maybe they'd be a little bit more exciting. But either way, they don't have their own picks. So I, I don't know. I don't know what you do. That contract is insanely hard to trade for. I mean, Devin Booker's a great player. I really do like him as a player, but I don't know what teams are able to trade for a $145 million contract, a $72.5 million per year deal. Like in today's NBA, that is a huge chunk of your cap. So I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about this. I wonder how you all feel about this. Again, like I think you have to keep him. You have to keep him happy because I don't know, man. I would have traded him a while ago, but that's just a lot of money to give to a player on a team that's not going anywhere. Oh man, another team that's not going anywhere and rumors that aren't going anywhere. The Giannis trade rumors are still flying around the league. There's questions on whether is he going to be a Warrior, is he going to be a Miami Heat player, or the Pistons going to trade for him, the Spurs, the Rockets. There's the OKC. I don't know. There's a ton of players, a ton of teams that could trade for him. Teams definitely that have more than the Heat do. He said he probably will stay for the Bucks. I don't know how that makes you feel if you're a Bucks fan or a person in the Bucks organization, but I don't know. If they get off to a bad start, I don't know what they do. I don't know if he becomes a little bit more disgruntled and starts asking for a trade. He's made it pretty clear that he's happy to stay there if they're winning. I don't know what this team is winning with this roster. I mean, the East does suck, so maybe they have a good season and then flame out in the playoffs. Maybe they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that's like the worst case scenario because that gives him maybe enough proof that he should stay there. But this team's not winning a chip. There's no way. Giannis is amazing. He's awesome. He's going to have an MVP level season, but they're not going to have the wins for him to be deemed worthy of that award. I put that in air quotes because, the wins play a big factor. It's not just player performance and it's not his fault. He's going to do everything he can and he's awesome. I hope that they suck and I hope that he demands a trade because I want to see Giannis on a better team, whether that's on the Heat. I would love him on the Heat or just on a different team just to see this guy compete. Like he's an amazing player. He's still in his prime, but reaching, the latter half of his career. And I want his career to be filled with fun moments for us as fans too, not just for him. So we'll see what happens there. Another player who has mentioned that he is disgruntled or disappointed is Trae Young with the Hawks. He is disappointed that Hawks haven't offered him a contract extension, which is odd because they finally have like a really good team around him, like a pretty nice building blocks around him. A lot of these are young players that they're hoping would grow with him. He is up for a $229 million extension this summer, which, I mean, it is a ton of money. It's a lot of money. And in today's league, with the way the contracts work, with the way the aprons work, you have to be careful about how you pay these players. There's question marks in general around small guards, despite how offensively gifted they might be, like a Trae Young. There's question marks around Darius Garland, around Tyler Hero, Austin Reeves, Tyrese Maxey, all these smaller guards can't play defense. It becomes a question mark on how worth it are you if all you bring to the table is offense. And in some cases, it differs depending on how much they're bringing to the table on offense. But in the playoffs, especially when you become targeted every single play on the defensive end and you're getting bullied by these bigger players, by players who are coming into the league at 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", who can play the point guard position and you're 6'1", 6'2", and you're scrawny, it's tough. You have to be able to play in a different way. You have to make yourself either that unstoppable offensively or at least good enough defensively that you're not getting picked on every single possession. So, like players like Davion Mitchell that aren't as good on offense, but they're bulldogs on defense. They have a better place in the league necessarily. Again, not to say Davion Mitchell's better than Trae Young. He's not, or than Tyler Hero really, but the league is going bigger just because there's more talent. There are larger players who can play that point guard position. It doesn't have to be a small guy, we've realized. I mean, look at Jokic. He plays the point guard pretty much, and he's huge. So it's a question mark because I understand why they're doing what they're doing. It's a prove it year. A lot of people around the league, my favorite person around the league, Zach Lowe, is very high on the Hawks. People think that they have a chance in making the finals, making at least an Eastern Conference Finals run. So I think it's a prove it year. If he can get them to that place, if he can play well, really well with this team, especially in the playoffs, not just in the regular season, I think they'll definitely give him money. Why not? He is Atlanta. People come to watch him. So that's kind of what they're waiting for. If he can do it, if he can play well with these young players, then you resign him and these young players continue to grow next to him, and then you see what can happen in the future. But if he's not proving himself worthy of that with all these players who are kind of perfectly fit for him, then you have more question marks. Then maybe he goes somewhere else. So it's a question on his mentality. Is he just going to be upset and not do it? Not want to play well because he just feels he deserves his money already. He's made all NBA before. He has made, I think he's made all NBA before. He's been an all-star before. He has made it to the Eastern Conference Finals before. He's had his games, his like runs of, insanity. He's a great playmaker. He's a really good shooter. He's smart. His biggest flaw is that he's small and he can't play defense well. So question marks there. We will see. People like him, Hero, Maxi, they're Austin Reeves. They're looking at the league and they're wondering, Garland, and wondering how much money are they really worth now with the league going a little bigger. Another extension that people are more happy about, less controversial, is the Mikal Bridges extension. Mikal Bridges was signed to a $150 million deal to New York. A 4-year $150 million deal to the New York Knicks. I think it was obvious they were going to re-sign him. He's good friends with Jalen Brunson. When he took that pay cut, he was expecting them to re-sign his friends who were competing with him. They had a really good run last year. They beat the defending champions that were the Celtics. Tatum did get injured, but it was at the end of a game that the Knicks were looking like they were going to win. Knicks were looking like they were going to win that series regardless. Maybe it would have gone a game or two more, but I think that was the Knicks series. And then they lost to the Pacers, but the Pacers took the champs to 7. So you lost to the team that very well could have been the champion if Tyrese didn't get hurt. So they're positioned well this year, especially with a weaker East, with the Pacers not being a team anymore, to get to the finals. And they fired their coach. They got a new one in there who can maybe innovate the offense and use Mikal Bridges a bit more in a way that maybe he hasn't been used since his time for the Suns. So I think it's a good contract. It's a decent amount of money. I haven't seen too many people complain about it, but for those who are complaining, I think you have to take into account that when you're putting a monetary value on these players, which is what you're doing, you're of course wanting that number to reflect a certain level of production on the court, correct? But part of that production is in how many games they play. And Mikal Bridges plays quite literally 82 games a season. He is an Iron Man. He plays every single game and he plays as many minutes as you want him to play. He's perfect in that sense. So yeah, could he average more points, more assists, more rebounds, whatever? Sure, yeah, but he's a really good defender and he does not stop playing. And he doesn't seem to be, he seems to be a positive locker room player. So overall, I think it's smart that they did this. You take him in, he plays all the time, he's a good guy, he's friends with your star player, and you see what you can do this season. And then if they don't make it as far as they'd like this season, that's where the questions come into play on who do you trade? Because they already made the typical move of losing in the playoffs and to some controversy firing your coach. That's what teams always do. Whenever something goes bad, the first thing they do is fire the coach. Next thing they do is trade players. You're not going to trade Brunson. You have Brunson there for life. That's their goal, right? You don't want to lose Brunson. So if they flame out again, do you trade Cat? Do you trade Bridges? Do you trade, I don't think you trade Josh Hart, but do you try to trade some other pieces around to retool and restructure that roster around Brunson in a better way? Maybe. Who knows? Either way, I think this is a good contract for Bridges. He plays all the time, and the best ability is availability, and he is available to play 35 minutes a game for 82 games. It's insane. He's really an Iron Man of sorts. Now to the team I like to talk about the most, the Miami Heat. Quickly, just to go over some offseason stuff. The Athletic did this report going around and giving offseason grades. They gave the Heat a B-, which I think is pretty fair. We turned Kevin Love into Kevin Love in slow-mo, Kyle Anderson into Norman Powell, who is a great upgrade, even though he's a little bit older, even though he's looking for a contract extension. Still a good contract for us, still a good player for us. We'll see what we do about that extension. We'll figure that out later. But he adds some offensive firepower to this team that was in desperate need of it, where we can be more creative on offense now, and teams can't as easily load up on Tyler Hero. They have to actually pay attention to another player on the court who is dynamic in their ability to score. So pretty happy about that. I think the biggest question mark still is just what we're going to do about Terry Rozier. Interesting to see if we can find a way to offload him or not. If we don't offload him, is he just going to be rotting on the bench? We'll see. I think it's good that we didn't go all in for a Kuminga. The Warriors were wanting way too much for that player when they don't even seem to value him. It's this funny dichotomy where they're like, they want X amount for this guy, but it's you don't value him that highly because you don't play him. And to his very vocal dismay. So yeah, not sure what the Warriors were expecting there. That saga still hasn't been concluded. But overall, pretty happy with our offseason moves. It's an evaluation year for us. We're not expected to make the finals, not expected to make the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe, never say never, but probably not. More so, it's a year to see what we have and what is worth continuing to bring into next season. Who do we rebuild around if we are rebuilding? Who do we sell off if we are selling off players? It is an evaluation period for the Heat. I think that we will be above 500. That's my expectation. It's higher than what Vegas has us at, but they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the Heat, at least in my opinion, and it comes to the weak East. So we'll see. Another cool thing that's happening with the Heat, they're bringing back arguably one of the best jerseys ever, definitely one of the best NBA City Edition jerseys. They're bringing back the black Miami Vice uniforms. Super excited to see those. I'll definitely cop one or two of those this season. It's very happy to see. I am very happy to see that we will not be having those stupid Heat culture jerseys and that stupid Heat culture court, whatever that was. I love Heat culture and I think it's a thing. I agree it's a thing, but putting it in our marketing materials takes away from it. So I wasn't really happy about that. I am very happy to see that beautiful black and neon pink, neon blue jersey come back. It's just a great jersey. It's so clean. So really happy about that. And in other league news, the NBA schedule, the full schedule for every team has dropped. It is exciting. As of right now, the Heat have, we only have 5 national TV games. It's disappointing, but it's to be expected. We're not a team people are very excited about. Excuse me as I take a sip of water. Overall, and that's for good reason. We don't really have a star who attracts that much fandom. Bam has the potential to, but he's never stepped up offensively in the way that people would want, and people don't get that excited for solid defense for the most part. And he's not like a highlight blocker, and he has his highlight blocks, especially in the playoffs, but not someone who's averaging 3 or 4 blocks a game. And I know that's not the most important thing, but it gets clips, and that's when you're looking at TV games, you want people to be watching those games, and he just doesn't attract eyes in the way that some other teams do. Just to clarify or to show where we stand in terms of popularity, the only teams with less than us are the Chicago Bulls, the Hornets, the Nets, the Pelicans, the Raptors, the Jazz, the Wizards. So really like the worst teams in the NBA. They have less national TV games than us. So it's clear where we stand. It's not necessarily about how good we are, but just about the excitement around us. And there's not a lot. And I don't blame the league in general for not being that excited about the Heat. The only question marks I did have were around the fact that the Pacers have 9, not a lot, but still more than us. And the 76ers have 14 when, the Pacers, they lost their best player to injury. They lost second or third best player to, moving to the Bucks and Miles Turner. So question marks around why they have more games than we do. I get it. They were in the finals, so you want to pay them some respect, but I don't know. Curious about that. And then the 76ers, why they have even more than us and the Pacers when people don't know how many games Embiid's going to play. People don't know how many games Paul George is going to play. I mean, they do have Tyrese Maxey. They do have hopefully a healthy season of Jared McCain, who was looking pretty good before injury. VJ Edgecombe, the rookie, looks like he's going to be an exciting player. They have that, but I don't know. Question marks around there. Maybe that's fine, but overall, I'm not. You're nitpicking here. I don't think we deserve that many national TV games, and there's going to be a lot more ways to watch games this season, anyways, with a bunch of different streaming services like Amazon, like Peacock, like NBC. We're going to be all over the place in terms of watching, and for us Heat fans, us local fans, you're going to need either cable or you're going to need a subscription to FanDuel for the most part to watch our games. So that's okay. It's fine. And when we were looking at the schedule, just in general, I wanted to point out our strength of schedule. This, of course, changes depending on injuries and things of that nature, and it's dependent on where league evaluators like Vegas have the Heat in terms of how good they think we are relative to how good other teams are. So, for instance, like people thought the Bucks, or not just the Bucks, but the Celtics, the Pacers, like they were going to have better seasons than the Heat. And while that's possible, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen when both those teams have their own picks, when both those teams have injuries to their best players. I don't think they're going to be better than the Heat. So when you're evaluating that strength of schedule, right now we're slotted at the 14th hardest schedule in the league, which is middle of the pack, and the 5th hardest schedule in the East. But again, that's assuming that the Pacers are better than us or the Celtics are better than us. And this gets reevaluated throughout the season if more injuries happen or if teams are looking worse than they have been. So that could very well change if, right now when you're looking at that, it might think, oh, shoot, well, we're playing 2 playoff teams in OKC and, the Rockets in February back to back. But if KD gets injured or if Shai Gilgeous, gets injured, and I don't hope for either of these things, but injuries can throw off the strength of schedule because the team's strength is predicated on how good the players on the team are. And if the good players, the best players are not playing, which happens, sometimes it's not even injury. Sometimes it's just rest. If a player rests against the Heat, which they might, since we're not seem to be that strong of a team, then those are wins we might get that were expected to be losses, looking at it just from this point blank view, from the way before the season. So we'll see what happens. I think we'll be above 500. I think we will. But if we even start in our first 10 games 500, that would be a good sign. Our start is a bit brutal. Our first 10 games, we open the season at Orlando, and we never play well against Orlando, and they look very good this year. So not necessarily knowing what's going to happen with that. And our first home game is against the Knicks, who, again, are a very good team, Eastern Conference favorites between them and the Cavs. And the worst part about playing against the Knicks in Miami is we have so many New Yorkers down here. I mean, that happens in a lot of cities, but they take over the arena. If it's a close game, you're going to hear a lot of "Let's go Knicks" chants. If the Knicks are beating us, you're going to hear them super loud, overpowering Heat fans. Again, this does happen a lot. New Yorkers are everywhere, but they are especially down here in Miami, where tickets are incredibly pricey, and the New Yorkers who are down here tend to be those who are a little bit more affluent. So it happens. It's sad to see. With our first home game being against the Knicks, it kind of sets us up for failure in terms of that. And then within our first 10 games, we also have 2 back-to-back Lakers and Clippers, like a Lakers and Clippers game. We also play against Denver, and we also play against San Antonio. So all those teams are going to be healthy at the start of the season. We're going to be playing against LeBron and Luka. We're going to be playing against Kawhi and Harden. We're going to be playing against the Nuggets. We're going to be playing against Wemby. It's the Nuggets having Jokic, of course. It's going to be a tough start. If we can go through those first 10 games 4-6, I'd be happy. 5-5, I'd be ecstatic. So we'll see. Just don't. I'm letting you know that if in the first 10 games the Heat aren't looking good, if we're 3-7, then that would suck. It doesn't necessarily mean that we suck. It's just it is a really hard first 10 games. It's not an easy start to the season for us. And we'll see what happens. One date before we close this out to circle for everybody. November 19th, Jimmy Butler returns to Miami. So, I would definitely say you should tune into that game. If you can get tickets, you should go to that game. While the ending wasn't pretty, and while I'm happy that it's over, I still cherish all the moments that Jimmy Butler gave us. I will never forget him slumped over the scorer's table after just a pure exhaustion in the finals during the bubble run when he gave his all for this team. As a fan, you can't take that away. You can't forget the good times that we had. I mean, aside from the 06 run, aside from our Heatles run, these years with Jimmy were some of the most fun years I've ever had as a basketball fan, as a Heat fan. Watching an 8th seed make it to the finals, it was just a great time. It was some of my best memories watching sports. And for a lot of younger fans, especially too, some of them might have not been alive for the 06 championship. Some of them might have been too young to really care during the Heatles runs. There's a lot of fans around the league who love Jimmy. He really embraced Miami when he was here. You can't say that he didn't. And while things on both sides from our organization and from him were said that shouldn't have been, I think we should kind of forget about that small chapter and remember the good times. And I hope that we cheer him. I hope we don't boo him when he returns, because at the end of the day, you can't say he didn't give his all to this organization. Yeah, sure. Last season, he was obviously wanting to get traded and wasn't trying, which upset some of us, myself included. But when it mattered most, he was out there and he was playing through injury and he was busting his ass out there for the Miami Heat in our jersey. I will still wear my Butler jersey proudly. I still have a lot of love for him as a player. So much love to Jimmy. I'm excited for the November 19th game. I would love to be able to go. We'll see what happens, but definitely circle that on your calendars. And before we get out of here, just as always, something I'm burnt out by this week. I've said something similar before, but it's lawn care, not just mowing the lawn, but I'm looking into installing a sprinkler system, looking into getting our weeds removed or killed, and looking into planting grass and getting new soil and tilling and aerating and a bunch of stuff that I've never thought about before. And it's exhausting. I am a little bit excited for it, almost enough to say I'm fired up for it to start this adventure of trying to like renovate our yard, a little bit of DIY with it too. But it's a lot, and I guess it comes with having a house. But I'm grateful, and I am somewhat excited, but burnt out by the amount of stuff you have to look into for it. It's a lot more than you would expect. And what I am fired up for this week is this weekend I will be visiting my brother, or rather, he is visiting down here. My parents on the west coast of Florida. He's with 3 of my nephews, and I haven't seen them. They live in Virginia, so I'm very excited to see them again and hang out with them, have some family time. So that's what I'm fired up for this week. But hey, before we sign out, make sure like it, comment, leave a review, subscribe, follow, all the things. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know how some of these extensions may hit you, what your expectations are for the Heat this year. Happy to be here. We'll be continuing to drop these weekly. See y'all.